Macho John Madden in Acapulco, Mexico. I want to make a comment about how Anglos, Americans, are the ones I know most, respond to Latino folks who are struggling with their English versus the way Mexicans have responded to me as a gringo who's struggling with my Spanish. And to me, it says everything I want to say about how sweet and generous and receptive and non-judgmental are the Mexican people. My experience from the US is that Americans encountering a Latino who doesn't speak very good English tend to be very judgmental. Like, you shouldn't have come here if you don't know how to speak our language. Mexicans with me have been the opposite. I've been in Mexico for just 2 months shy of 2 years. And when I crossed the border at Matamoros in March of 23, my Spanish was very rudimentary. And I have learned by the seat of my pants for most of the time I've been in Mexico. I never was able to find an app that I liked. Duolingo is popular with a lot of people. I think it's child's play. It's incredibly simplistic and uninteresting and based on drills. I finally now have found an AI supported app called Busu, which is wonderful. It's all based on videos, real conversational Spanish. It's really incentivized me, and I'm committed to practicing. But mostly, I came down the east coast of Mexico from Matamoros to Veracruz, and most of the places I was, there were no American tourists. There were no international tourists. People who were going from the US or Canada to the Riviera Maya, where I am now, fly or take cruises. They don't come down that car route that I took. So almost every place I was, from tiny pueblos to big cities, I was the oddball. They had not been ruined by ignorant Americans, arrogant, self-entitled Americans, which is lots of the expats of really every stripe, not just Americans. So they were really open to me and curious and wanted to try out whatever English they had, and have always been incredibly gracious towards my Spanish, which has gotten a lot better just from practice, practice, practice. So Mexicans for the last year have been saying to me, "You speak such good English, where'd you learn it?" But the truth is, I speak terrible Spanish. You speak such good Spanish. No, I don't. My syntax is awful. I'm always aware that, let's see, that was the present tense. It was supposed to be the past tense. My vocabulary is incredibly limited. I can make almost any situation work. I can have an encounter, get the job done. I understand them, they understand me. But in terms of conversation, I can't do it. And when I'm sitting with a bunch of Mexicans who are conversing, I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm really motivated to get better because I'm planning to live here forever. And I'm a conversationalist and an extrovert, and I miss it terribly. In Cozumel and Playa del Carmen, I ran into lots of English speakers, and it was a great joy to me, and often very interesting people. But now in Acamal, where it's 90% Spanish speakers, I hang out almost entirely with Mexicans, partly because I like them better. At the coffee shop where I hung out a lot, there would be a big number of tourists or expats would hang out there sometimes, and I almost always found them boring. In fact, everywhere I go in Mexico, from the tone of voice, I can say, that's not a Mexican, because Mexicans don't whine like that. There's more aliveness, more excitement in their voice. So I'm eternally grateful. And what's got this on my mind, I posted a video today, I'll put a link to it, where the puppy who lives 2 doors down from me keeps running down to my house, and they don't want him to wander. He's off leash all the time, as most of the dogs on this street are, but I'm always running him back there. And I got into a conversation with the woman Marisol who lives up there, and you can see it's all recorded. I had the video running the whole time. You can see, you won't know if you don't know Spanish, you won't know how terrible my Spanish was, but it got the job done, and she kept acting like I was speaking great Spanish. We had a nice conversation, and she gave me some great information about the heritage of the dogs I know on the street. And I think it's actually a great little glimpse of how impoverished is the housing stock in which a lot of people live. And they live fine, they're happy. They're happier than most people who have big homes in America. But in terms of generous and receptive and non-judgmental and sweet Mexicans, oh man, I'll take them any day of the week. Okay.